Hi, this is Darren Standish from Property Prosperity. Thanks for joining us today. Today I'm lucky enough to be joined by Cathy Stolinski from Adcock's Conveyancing. She's a person I've known for many years now, and she's exceptionally experienced and skilled conveyancer. So what I thought I'd do today is sit down with Cathy and maybe give you a bit of an idea of what a conveyancer is and what they do, and why they may be important if you're looking at investing in property or even buying a property just to live in. Cathy's actually the president of the Australian Institute of Conveyancers, and obviously that, as well as an important position, obviously it means that she's got a lot of understanding of what happens in the market, and obviously she can leverage off of what other conveyancers experience and just try and improve the way that conveyancers work in the industry. So I thought maybe, Cathy, if you just give a bit of an introduction of what a conveyancer is.
Okay, conveyancer handles the legal transfer of property. So when you buy or sell real estate, there's a process that needs to go through for the transfer of ownership to ensure that clear title is passed at settlement. So that's what a conveyancer does. There's a lot of other more intricate things that happens along the way. There's tax-related implications. There's easements, encumbrances, there's all sorts of issues with transfer of land, and conveyancers are experts in that field. So
so what's a conveyancer? Say if you're a conveyancer, how does that differ from a lawyer or someone like that? It's involved in a lot of paperwork, it sounds like, and a lot of legal stuff. How does it differ?
It is a legal process where conveyancers aren't lawyers, but we are seen in the eyes of the law as conducting legal work. It's different to a lawyer which probably specialises in general law and all aspects of law, whereas a conveyancer is an expert in the transfer and property-related transactions.
Okay, so can people come to you and get advice, and you can give them an opinion on what they should do, or do they have to go to a lawyer if something's going wrong with their property development or property settlement or so forth? Can they come to you first, or do you suggest that it's probably not your area to give advice on property?
I would strongly recommend that all clients seek the advice of a conveyancer before entering into any real estate transaction, be it a sale of a property, a purchase of a property, commercial leases, sale of businesses, anything like that. A conveyancer will be able to give you advice and assistance. If it is a legal matter and there are issues and they are legal implications behind them, then a conveyancer can't give legal advice, but you would be advised accordingly if there are those issues and suggested that you refer the matter on to a appropriately qualified solicitor.
Okay, and so obviously you're quite an experienced conveyancer, and obviously I'm assuming I know you've been doing it for quite a few years. How did you become a conveyancer? How do people end up being conveyancers? Is it something they just fall into, or?
From my experience, a lot of people fall into conveyancing. My boss became a conveyancer because her father was a conveyancer. He's also a real estate agent. I got involved in conveyancing. I was in the media industry for 14 years. Had my second child and realised that just wasn't the right career for me. It wasn't family friendly. Was interested in real estate but didn't want to be an agent and put in the hours that agents have to put in selling real estate, and I wasn't interested in the sales side. So conveyancing piqued an interest, so I looked into it. It's a 4-year TAFE course, part-time. So I studied. In my 3rd year, seeked employment and just went from strength to strength.
Okay, and obviously you probably have good days and bad days like any job, I suppose, but you're obviously glad you made that decision then?
Oh, definitely. It's become my new passion. I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about my profession, the industry, what conveyancers do. It's very rewarding. Yes, there's stressful days. There's bad days where settlements don't go through. There's difficult clients, difficult transactions, but you're learning something every day. Every day I go home, there's not a day that goes by that I can't say I haven't learned something new, learnt how to deal with a a matter a different way. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we're about achieving a client's ultimate goal, and whether that be property ownership, their first property, building a property portfolio, securing, a sale of a business or a purchase of a business. When a transaction is completed, it gives you a great deal of satisfaction.
So people out there that they may not have bought a property before. Obviously, a lot of people know they're meant to, have an accountant or some sort of financial advisor, or they go to their doctor to make sure that they're healthy, and they go to their accountant to make sure their financial affairs are in order. What is it? One of those things you wait until you bought a property before you actually look at getting a conveyancer, or how do I decide on when I'm going to get a conveyancer, and obviously how do I decide who I'm going to get for my conveyancer?
We recommend that you consider appointing a conveyancer prior to entering into a real estate transaction. It's important we can become an extension of the professionals that come to the table, so we can sit and meet with your accountant or tax advisor or financial advisor and discuss what it is that your intentions are for that property. Is it to be your first home, your family home? Is it to be an investment property? If it's an investment property, is this a one-off, or are you looking to build a property portfolio? There's various tax implications around real estate. So we sit down and ask the hard questions. What are you intending to do? Are you going to subdivide this land? If you're going to subdivide, you need to be very careful, because if you do it based on your income and how many times you do it, it might be deemed to be carrying on an enterprise, then you're required to be registered for GST. A number of small-time developers that thought it was going to be their first and only transaction, and they've got a taste for it and do it over and over again, don't register for GST, haven't sought the right advice, and now get caught out with the tax office, with the ongoing tax implications. There's various ways of calculating the GST in a transaction. There's a thing called the margin scheme, which is a better way of dealing with the GST on a sale of a property, as opposed to the 1/11th calculation. So people get caught out in that way. Land tax is another issue, and it's affecting property investors in South Australia. Depending on your ownership structures and how many properties you own, there's different ways that land tax is assessed. If you have one property, it's calculated on the single holding tax. But if you are building multiple properties and they're all in the same ownership structure, the land tax is based on a multiple holding tax, and that can go from being anywhere from a couple of $100 a year to tens of thousands of dollars a year.
So it sounds like you get into a lot of other areas just besides the, obviously the contract and so forth. It sounds like you're thinking about tax and other implications. So does that mean you work with sounds like you work with a team of people? So you'd be contacting their accountant maybe?
We'll speak with their accountant, their financial advisor, their banker.
Yep.
So you need to think of all these professionals as a team,
yep,
working with you to achieve your ultimate goal.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about getting into property, but I'm not really sure what to do. Are you suggesting maybe I should contact the conveyancer first up and have a chat to them, saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing something, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, but maybe you can point me in the right direction?
That's right.
And how do I find out which conveyancer? Do I just look in the yellow pages, or how do I find it?
You can, the Australian Institute of Conveyancers, the SA division, which I'm current president of, has a website, and there's a find a conveyancer section on their website. You can find a conveyancer by suburb. If you have a friend or know somebody that knows a conveyancer, you can type in a name and it'll come up with the name. Most people tend to find them, if they use the Australian Institute of Conveyancers website, type in a suburb. South Australia being quite small, there's no requirement for you to use a conveyancer in a particular area for your transaction. So we in South Australia do all our settlements at the Lands Titles Office in the city. So if you're buying a property in Coober Pedy or in Adelaide, someone like Adcox, we're located at Hindmarsh, we can do that transaction wherever the property is in the state. Yellow Pages, there's listings alphabetically. Google, obviously, type in, looking for conveyances.
Does it have to be some sort of qualifications? Is it something I should ask a question of a conveyancer if I want to make sure whether they're the right conveyancer for me?
Yes, we recommend all conveyancers have to be registered. So conveyancing officers will often have support staff that aren't registered conveyancers. Only registered conveyancers can certify a document, and a registered conveyancer should be the only person giving you specific advice relating to property. You have certified practicing conveyancers recognised by our institute, and in order to get your CPC qualification, which is very similar to the accountant's CPA, you have to do a minimum number of professional development hours per year. So, I'm currently a CPC.
So if I see they've got those qualifications, I can be pretty assured that they probably have the skills to be able to do what I need them to do.
I think it's important too, if you're appointing a conveyancer, ask them the question. If you're looking at investment and development of properties, ask them where their skill base. What do they do? Yep. Not all conveyancers do a broad range of property transactions. Some just specialise in residential, and that's all they do. So I think it's important that you speak to whoever you're looking to appoint, ask them their area of expertise, and don't be driven by price. Unfortunately, many consumers are driven by price and advice of their agent saying you can get conveyancing for $400. It's like anything. If you want good advice, good service, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, and obviously I talk to my clients about particularly legal contracts, a very important thing, so you want to make sure they're done correctly, and if you've missed something or something's not correct or not picked up, then it can create massive hassles down the future and cost you thousands of dollars. So you definitely want to make sure you've got an experienced conveyancer that understands all the ins and outs and make sure you don't have any problems down the track. So I think that's very good advice. Obviously, Kathy's touched on a lot of things today, as well as obviously tax things and land tax and GST and a lot of different things. So perhaps what I might do is maybe we'll ask another time, maybe we'll catch up another time and go through maybe in a bit more detail some of those other points we talked about, which we didn't have time to go through today. But thank you, Kathy, for joining me today, and I look forward to catching up again soon.